Ashton Jeanty, Omarion Hampton, Quinshon Judkins, Cam Scattaboo, and more. We're talking about the sophomore running back class. We had very high expectations for this class as rookies, and I think you'd have to say they really disappointed us. So they have to make it up. They have to make it up to us this year by being awesome. Welcome, everybody, to Fantasy Football Today. Thank you for bearing with me. I know I don't sound great, but I'm happy to be back on. Sorry I missed the show on Monday. And I'm here with Dave, Heath, and Jamie. I've already made one big mistake. I'm going to start with some trivia. Yeah. But Heath, you're not allowed to play. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, somebody else should get to win sometimes.
Because I sent the notes to everybody with the answers to the trivia questions. And Heath looked at the notes, which he was supposed to do, but he's been eliminated. So, okay, let's go. Sophomore running back trivia. Which rookie running back from last year led the class in fantasy points per game?
Cam Scattaboo.
Oh, come on.
Oh.
That was an easy one, though.
He's right.
Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, fine. Where did he finish per game?
Wasn't it like 19 points per game? Or that might have been that might have been just like in the games where he was like, not a backup. Like you take out the
he was like 15 or something.
Yeah, it's literally on my laptop in my lap right now. 16 on the dot is what I have.
Yeah, but I didn't say how many did he average. I said where did he finish? And he finished his RB 10 per game. So you hold on one second.
Oh, now he's got to get his sound effect. Yeah, there it is.
Okay. What?
Nothing.
It took you 45 minutes to hit the X sound effect.
Next question. There were 49 running backs with 100 or more carries in 2025. Which two running backs were last in yards before contact per carry? Both of them were rookies.
Heath, are you going to ruin this one?
No,
I'd like to hear it. No, Ashton Jeanty was one of them. Ashton Jeanty was one of them.
Yeah, Jeanty and
was Woody Marks?
No.
I don't know.
Was it
Quinshon Judkins.
No.
Quinshon makes sense.
Judkins was last, and Jeanty was second to last. Okay, don't worry. The Heath portion of the show is coming up soon. Which 2025 rookie running back led the NFL in carries of 50 or more yards, and with how many?
That would be Travion, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
4?
Hey, Dave, good job. How many 1,000-yard rushers did this class have?
None.
Correct. Isn't that sad that Ashton Jeanty played a full season to get that?
Yes, that's very sad.
And who led this class in rushing touchdowns?
Jackson Dart.
Was it Henderson?
It was. Isn't that crazy? It's 9.
Wow.
Yeah, 9 times. All right, Heath, good job.
How many rushing touchdowns did Jackson Dart have?
6.
6?
I don't know.
I'll take the over. The over.
You're the Giants super fan.
I think you're mistaking me. I was going to do my Dan impression, but I can't. You're mistaking me with someone else.
He had 9.
Oh, he had 9. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if he had that many, but I figured it was more than 6.
Yeah, but if you remove 3 of them, which came, I don't know. Anyway, Heath, what's coming up on FFT Dynasty?
Oh, just had a great show yesterday with Alfredo Brown talking about the upcoming free agents and what our hopes are for them in Dynasty. We are moving quickly towards the rookies. I think we're going to do a 2-man rookie mock with myself and Theo Grimminger on Friday. And I'm trying to decide just how deep I'm willing to go on that. I don't think we're quite ready for 2 rounds of rookie mocks. We'll probably go a top 16 to give you a few of our favorite round 2 guys. But we're going to need more information before we get all the way into round 2.
We have got a lot of news and notes as the GMs are speaking, and we've got their takeaways from some press conferences here. So let's get to the news and notes, and then we'll talk more about the sophomore running backs. All right, the Jets plan to keep Breece Hall.
Boo.
Quinshon Judkins will be ready for training camp, and he had a nasty injury. It was a fractured fibula and a dislocated ankle, and it was in week 16. But he'll be ready for training camp. Buffalo is going to give Keon Coleman all of his opportunities, Dave. You broke up with him last week. Any chance you guys get back together?
No. I don't know what that means. They're going to give him all of his opportunities? What does that mean?
They're going to give him the opportunity to go out and succeed.
Okay, and I'm sure that by the time training camp is over, he'll be like 4th at best.
Well, Houston is Joe Mixon's not expected to be on their depth chart. They're expected to release Joe Mixon. Mm-hmm. The Falcons are giving Kyle Pitts the franchise tag, and they won't commit to a starting quarterback right now, and they will release Kirk Cousins. How about Jamie?
Oh, isn't that them kind of committing to a starting quarterback?
No.
They have two quarterbacks who are capable of starting. They're going to release one of them.
Well, if the season started in May, but it doesn't seem like they're sold on Michael Penix. Does it? Am I missing?
I wonder if Arizona makes the move that a lot of people have been talking about and brings in Malik Willis if Kevin Stefanski wants to reunite with Jacoby Brissett.
Sure.
Wow.
Nice bridge.
Yeah, I'm sure. But Arizona already has that bridge if they're looking for a bridge. Obviously, you're right. If they're going to pay Malik Willis, they don't necessarily need a bridge quarterback anymore because they're basically investing in Malik Willis as being their primary quarterback for multiple years. Man, that sounds sort of scary.
Jamie, how about a couple of teams where the head coach is giving up the play calling duties? Carolina, it's going to be offensive coordinator Brad Idzik calling plays. He's does not have regular season play calling experience. And the same thing with Davis Webb in Denver. Sean Payton's been a head coach since 2006, and he's always been the play caller, but that's going to change. So Panthers and Broncos, their head coaches are giving up play calling duties.
I don't think we'll notice it probably as much in Carolina just because of what we're looking at from their players. So I don't think it's going to necessarily change. Oh my God, we got to back off or get so excited about Tedero and McMillan. We'll see who the running back is there. I think we'll probably still feel the same about those guys. In Denver, it might change a little bit just because Sean Payton's been such a creative play caller, certainly involving his running backs in the passing game. So if maybe some of the concepts change there for what Davis Webb wants to do. But I think, again, you're probably just going to approach these players the same way because the influence will still be there from these head coaches, and that's probably what matters most.
I think I'm hopeful that maybe in Denver, like it's probably not going to be better, might be. But what I would be hopeful for is like we don't have to involve 17 different potential pass catchers in the operation. We could maybe solidify the target tree just a little bit.
I just hope they don't stop throwing to the running backs, which has obviously been a Sean Payton staple. RJ Harvey had 4 or more targets in 6 of his last 7 games, including the postseason. And, he wasn't doing much as a rusher, so he really needed those catches.
It's still Peyton's offense, and it's still Canales' offense. So, again, like whatever little wrinkles that they decide to do, calling plays versus installing plays are totally different.
And what's going to happen if either of these offenses get off to a bad start a month into the season and they're not close to where they were last year? I wouldn't be surprised one bit if Sean Payton says, all right, I'm taking it back. Same thing with Canales in Carolina.
The Ravens have offered center Tyler Linderbaum, arguably the top free agent on the market, a market-setting contract, they've said. Todd Bowles says he wants Mike Evans back in Tampa Bay. Cleveland GM Andrew Berry won't commit to a week 1 starting quarterback, even saying Deshaun Watson, I guess, has a chance. We'll see. Detroit GM Brad Holmes said that conversations with David Montgomery are fluid. Montgomery has no guaranteed money left on his contract. Seattle wants Ken Walker back. The Eagles did not. I mean, they kind of said that they like A.J. Brown and they want to add good players, not get rid of them, but also Nick Sirianni couldn't guarantee that A.J. Brown would be on the team next season. Houston GM Nick Caserio said that C.J. Stroud is their quarterback and he ain't going anywhere. And how about this Kansas City GM Brett Veach? Heath, he said that the Chiefs want to get more explosive in the run game. He also said he's hopeful that Travis Kelce will return in 2026. If Jeremiah Love is on the board 9th overall, do you think the Chiefs are drafting him?
No.
Really?
But also, it would be difficult to be less explosive at running back than they were last year.
Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan.
Just on that note, Ben Johnson was raving about Eric Bieniemy's involvement in the Chicago run game.
Okay. Dolphins GM John Eric Sullivan said that everything's on the table in regards to Tua, and the Dolphins are not actively shopping Achane or Waddle. GM Omar Khan of the Steelers says the team wants Kenneth Gainwell back. He's a free agent. And ESPN reporting that Kyler Murray has not spoken to Cardinals GM Monty Ossenfort since the end of the season, even though the GM said that they have spoken. So if that's true, it's not great communication there between Kyler and Arizona's front office. Anything that really jump out that I missed or that I mentioned? Anything big takeaways from what the GMs were saying?
I think the biggest thing is just how excited do people want to get about Kyle Pitts and Kevin Stefanski's offense.
I think you ought to get more excited about it than most people.
Yeah.
I think the great thing is, we talked about this last week, that there's this, like, after you get past Bowers and McBride, there's this tier of Fannin, Loveland, Warren, maybe Kraft, maybe Laporta, maybe Kyle Pitts now too. Like, you don't have to elevate him to what. Listen, the upside of Kyle Pitts' skills in Kevin Stefanski's offense is as good as any tight end, but you won't have to draft him until the end of that second tier.
My only fear is who's the next tight end that they bring in to play alongside Kyle Pitts or behind Kyle Pitts, because that's kind of also been a Stefanski staple, is that there's been a second guy there. And now you have Njoku as a free agent. Is that something that maybe he wants to do because he likes him as a playmaker? Is it a rookie tight end that maybe is a small factor, but a factor? We've seen how Pitts has been used. And let's not forget, the guy who's now calling the shots essentially for the Falcons, it's a plus, I think, is the guy that helped him get a 1,000-yard season as his quarterback, Matt Ryan. So I'm sure those conversations are being had about maybe how to use Pitts. I don't know. Matt Ryan obviously knows a lot about the NFL, talking to his head coach. So, we'll see what the personnel looks like. But I think this was definitely a positive. I mean, we said this once he got hired. Like, the tight end that's going to be in Atlanta was going to be a pretty good thing.
Okay. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about this sophomore running back class and whether or not it can deliver on the promise that we thought it had in the NFL draft last season. We'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
Some questions for the sophomore running backs. Okay, give me your top three. Who are your top three sophomore running backs for 2025? Jamie, Dave, Heath.
Scattaboo, Judkins, Harvey. Right now.
What? Nuh-uh.
That's not. I don't think it's accurate.
That's not your rankings. No Hampton, no Genty.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking. I was kind of like just going past the obvious. Excuse me. Hampton, Genty, Scattaboo.
Genty, Hampton, Scattaboo.
I think that's probably right. I've got Judkins and Hampton pretty close.
Wait, so what's your top three?
Genty, Scattaboo. I'll go Hampton.
Okay. Man, the faith in Scattaboo is something. All right. We'll come back to it. No, let's stay on that. We'll do another question sophomores later. Go ahead.
Like, I don't know. For most of these guys, it's more hope than it is faith. Like, as you said, they didn't give us the upside we were hoping for last year. So it's not like you say the faith in Scattaboo. How about the faith in Genty to be the number one?
Well, who has them won? Jamie and Heath?
I have Hampton one.
Hampton one. Dave, you had
Genty is one for me.
So why don't we start with Hampton versus Genty? Jamie, why Hampton over Genty?
Mike McDaniel, offensive line getting healthy. We'll see if there's anything more than Kamani Vidal as competition. That will change some things. But if it's just Vidal, I'm not really concerned about that. So I think Hampton's going to, come back from the injury situation when he was healthy last year. Certainly once Najee Harris got hurt, and then as we saw some flashes at the end of the season, but that was without the offensive line. Like, to me, he's got the most upside in the best situation.
Okay. He also had 32 catches in 9 games. He was on pace for 60 catches. Ashton Genty had about 50 catches? He had 55 catches in 17 games. So a little bit of an edge last year in receptions for Hampton, but pretty close. Dave, why Genty over Hampton?
I believe that Ashton Genty may not be like quite as great, or maybe great, maybe not be the right word. Not as fast, not as hyper explosive as Omarion Hampton, but I think he's got a better chance to wrangle the majority of touches even if it is in Las Vegas, even if his offensive line isn't going to be as good, and certainly even if Clint Kubiak, the play caller, doesn't carry the same type of prestige when it comes to running backs as Mike McDaniel does. I just think it's going to be more opportunity for him. I don't think it can get much worse than what we saw from him last year. An average 14.4 PPR points per game last year with a crap offensive line, bad offense in general. He's still going to see a ton of opportunities. He's still going to dominate near the goal line. He'll still make a bunch of plays after first contact. There's still a lot to really like about Genty. I just think the overall workload will be better for him. And I think that's enough for me for now to put him ahead of Amari and Hampton when I think both of them are going to be in better situations overall.
So some of this is, all of it at this point is obviously projecting, but I am hopeful that the Raiders' improvements on the offensive line are at least equal to the guys. They're not going to be as good as the Chargers, but if you're talking about the Chargers versus last year in totality versus the Chargers this year in totality and the Raiders last year, I think the improvement can be bigger for the Raiders. And I think Kubiak can be just as big of a boost to this offense as McDaniel is to the Chargers, potentially a bigger one.
Yeah, so I hope that that offense is better. That offensive line is better because it was horrible for the Raiders. But Colton Miller only played 4 games. He's their left tackle. But how else are they going to get better? They're not going to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. I don't know what they're going to do in terms of free agency, but they're going to.
I don't think that there's any reason to think a day 2 offensive lineman can't make this offensive line better.
Sure, but that's one of how many offensive linemen.
Well, they have $100 million to spend too, don't they?
Right. So okay, and if Tyler Linderbaum is going to end up being
that's the thing.
Stay right. Like, who are the free agents? The free agents that they get. This is to your point, Heath. The free agents that they get will be better than the players that they had. Those will be improvements, but it's not like they're not going to pull a Chicago Bears where they go from crappy offensive line to wow, legitimately one of the best offensive lines in one offseason. It's not going to happen.
They could, I don't.
Yeah, because I don't think we know
they did because I don't know if there's enough out there for them to.
They didn't do a good like Briggs, so they traded for 2 of those guys, right? Or one of them, at least.
The Bears, the Bears traded. I think they traded for at least one player.
And we don't know. Like, I don't think Juwan Taylor is probably going to be on the Chiefs. He's probably going to be a salary cap casualty in the next week or so, maybe 2. There's going to be other offensive linemen who haven't been cut yet who are going to become available. Like, I don't think the current offensive line free agents class is necessarily what it's going to be in a couple weeks.
I'm sure that
this should be, and they could also, if they trade Max Crosby, then they're getting either plenty of draft capital or players.
Mm-hmm.
And you would hope that that's one of the routes that they go is to try and not just get it. That there was that one, I think, Crosby for, I think it was ESPN, Crosby for DJ Moore was
first,
and draft pick swaps. Like, you'd love to see them get some sort of offensive line help. It's going to be better. It can't get worse. So it's going to be better. Colton Miller being healthy and different coach, different system, like all those things are pluses for Genty. I just feel like Hampton, has a slightly better ecosystem around him right now, on top of the fact that his quarterback is going to open things up for him more so than Mendoza will early in the season. Hopefully by the end of the season, things will change. But I mean, these are 2 guys that are clearly going to be drafted in the first 2 rounds. Whoever goes first, that's probably up for debate. I'd be surprised if Hampton goes ahead of Genty, barring, again, whoever the competition is, because Genty's still going to carry a little bit more name recognition.
Hampton went in the February mock draft we did. Hampton went with the 13th pick to Jamie, and then Genty went 3 picks later to Eric Gunther. Okay, next question. Let's talk about Cam Scatterbo here. And, I think you look at Tyrone Tracy, and Tracy did a solid job down the stretch last year. So it didn't take long for Scatterbo to overtake Tracy. It was basically week 2 or 3. Week 2, he started getting more carries than Tracy. Then Tracy got hurt, I think, in week 3, and then Scatterbo had this 4-game stretch where he was, getting 25 carries, 15 carries, 19 carries, 16 carries with 2, 6, 2, and 3 catches, scoring at least 13 fantasy points in all 4 games, scoring 18 or more in 2 of them. He was really good, and Tracy missed 2 of those games. But, all right, Scatterbo, Dave, is coming off an open tibia fracture, a ruptured deltoid ligament, and a dislocated right ankle. So how much does that matter when we talk about Scatterbo and real quick. He went in round 3 to you.
Yes.
3.7.
I don't mind at this point believing that Cam Scatterboo is going to be participating in training camp and should be up and running and okay for the Giants. And I'm comfortable with the game plan of drafting Scatterboo and then looking for Tyrone Tracy 4 or 5 rounds later and locking up the Giants backfield. And we can talk all day long about Matt Nagy and what that means and all the other brain power that they have on the offensive side of the ball. It's still John Harbaugh at the helm in New York. And I don't think Harbaugh is going to say, okay, it's bombs away time with Jackson Dart, and we're just going to completely forget about the run. I think the run will still be an important part of what they do. I think they will try and manage Scatterboo's workload and not give him what you said, 25, 19, whatever touches per game. But I do think he's got potential to be one of the better fantasy running backs that you can draft, and getting him in round 3. If he does manage to come back from the injury and he's healthy for the whole year, he's going to return really good value if he does that. The safeguard is having Tyrone Tracy for the games that Scatterboo misses. Tracy, you said it, he finished the year fine. He's going to be the guy that goes into your fantasy lineup. So that combo, handcuffing them together, I think that's kind of a necessary thing that you should target if you're going to draft Scatterboo with an early round pick.
Okay. Next question.
Keith is muted. Hold on.
I may lower Scatterboo a little bit just thinking about this, but is he the same guy? Because I think he had that tightrope procedure that Tony Pollard had, right?
Oh, I don't know.
In terms of my Google searching suggests that he did. Somebody can confirm that, but we have seen guys able to come back and play, but not be the same type of rushers in the first year back after that.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of, you can almost sort of put them in the same situation with Quinshon Judkins, coming back from significant injury as well, and you're getting coaching changes and things that should be beneficial to both of them because the offenses in general should be better depending on what the quarterback situation looks like in Cleveland. But you have 2 guys that are looking like they're going to be somewhat featured options. I would say Judkins has a little bit of an edge over Scatterboo, at least on paper right now. But can they, come back to the level that they were at pre-injury? So you have a Browns offensive line that's going to be worse. Coaching should be maybe a little bit better from a running standpoint, just because that's what Monken's been so successful at. But I'm a little concerned about both in terms of, like, Dave said, can he make it through the seasons for Scatterboo? Like, that's something that is hard to sort of look at and say the way that he runs, is he going to be that type of guy? Judkins, I think it's a little bit safer to say that. And keep in mind, he missed all of training camp because of his off-field situation. So, there was a ramp-up period for him. And by the time he got going, it was, okay, everything was just a terrible offense in general. So some of the things he did were pretty impressive, especially like that Packers game, for example, when Green Bay's defense was whole and dominant, and he still had a great game. So there's lots of love about both these guys. But I think you look at it and say, can they return at the same level, at least initially in 2026? There's got to be a little bit of caution there.
Okay, let's go to our next question here. Who will be overdrafted? Which sophomore running back will be overdrafted?
Scatterboo.
Woody Marks.
Yeah, Woody sounds like a pretty good answer. I'm not sure where they're going to end up, so I don't know what's fair to say for overdrafted or not.
Well, I guess if we're looking at it from that perspective, it's probably Trevion.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I don't know where Trevion's going to go, but he went 10th with the 10th pick of round 4 in our draft a few weeks ago, whereas Ramondre went with the 9th pick of round 5. So Trevion went around.
Right.
Wait, that sounds good to you?
That sounds good to me.
I'm not quite. Just tell me why you draft Trevion over Ramondre after the way their seasons ended.
So the playoff part of it is a little bit concerning, but I think before that, we saw they were pretty close to a 50-50 split, and Henderson is a much more explosive player, so more likely to turn those touches into bigger gains, and it's year 2 for Henderson, so hopefully he doesn't start isn't as big a hole as he did his rookie year with Vrabel.
Okay. I've been drafting Woody Mark. I think I drafted him in one of our last 2 drafts, but I didn't draft him in this one. but he went in the 8th round, middle of the 8th round. So you guys said Woody Marks might be overdrafted. At least two of you did.
That's not overdrafted.
I agree.
Okay, that's what I was thinking too. That felt good. What do we think about Woody
That's
Marks?
if he's still the guy there.
Well, if he's still the guy there, he's not going in round 8. He'll go significantly higher, and he still might be overdrafted if that's the case.
Yeah, he didn't really do much that was so impressive. Woody Marks
Right.
averaged 3.6 yards per carry. He had a long of 23 yards on 196 carries, and he was billed as a great pass catching running back. He had 24 catches in 16 games. The Texans were 24th out of 32 teams in running back targets.
They didn't trust him at the goal line.
Yeah, you don't want to make too much of yards per carry, because if we're going to knock Woody Marks, then we can't be that excited about Genty or Judkins, for example. I think they were both 3.6 or 3.7 yards per carry. I can give you some examples of rookies who struggled in that department and went on to have great careers. Le'Veon Bell, Christian McCaffrey, Joe Mixon was horrible as a rookie in yards per carry. But I mean, but at the same time, like he really didn't do anything all that impressive, Woody Marks. So we'll see what happens. But let's say they don't bring any major competition in. Let's say it's a day 3 running back or something like that. Woody Marks is the starter going into camp. Jamie, what round are you taking him in?
6 at the earliest.
Yes, that's what I was going to say was 6.
Okay. Let's see. Next sophomore running back question. Are you worried that any of these guys are going? And let's think more of the guys who were drafted on day 1 or 2, first 3 rounds of the NFL draft. Are you worried that any of them will be complete busts in the NFL?
Sure. I'm worried about a couple of them. I'm worried about
guys. Where does that? I mean, Caleb Johnson's an easy one.
Yeah. What if Travion doesn't turn the corner? Doesn't become the 1A in New England, much less the guy who's featured and becomes a superstar? What if he's just wedged into splitting reps second year, third year with the Patriots? That worries me. Quinshon Judkins was not a breakaway running back at Ohio State, and he was sharing with Travion Henderson their last year there together, and now here he comes in his second season coming off of an injury. That Browns offense looks horrible right now. Todd Monken worked wonders with Derrick Henry as his running back. What's that offense going to look like? Their offensive line is a humongous question mark. We're talking about the Raiders' offensive line being a problem. The Browns might have a worse offensive line next year because they don't have very many people under contract, I don't think. I'm concerned about Judkins not ever being able to get it going and Henderson not ever having the opportunity to get it going.
Harvey makes me nervous too, just because he's a guy that struggles to run between the tackles. And guys like that, if they don't get it, they'll never be the featured guy. And I wonder who's going to be the guy that's going to get paired with RJ Harvey this year, because I don't think he's going to be in a solo situation. We know Sean Payton's history. So is it going to be more of a physical runner and they use Harvey more in that change of pace pass catching role, which is what he was basically sort of pigeonholed in before J.K. Dobbins' injury? Or as we saw at the end of the season, like he struggled in the featured, role, and thankfully for him, and, we got a lot of great fantasy production out of it, but thankfully for him, it was Jaleel McLaughlin and, not anybody significant to take away touches from him. So is it J.K. Dobbins back? Is it somebody better, that can stay healthy for a full season? Do they go in the draft again? I loved Harvey's situation, but he didn't, I think, take advantage of it fully, at least in the way I wanted to see, so that's a big step for him going into a sophomore season. Can he do a better job, just not trying to bounce everything outside? It's a great attribute to have when it's working, as we've seen from Ken Walker throughout his career. But sometimes you got to just take those, 2-3 yard runs and push the pile a little bit. And I don't know if he's capable of that consistently.
I've got 2 more. Woody Marks could very easily be the 1B back in Houston if the team finds another running back. And remember, he was not exactly a top prospect coming into his rookie year either. And then
they also traded up for him, though. That's something to keep in mind.
Sure, but now that they've gotten a year of him and they didn't give him, they still kept him from having a huge workload or like I said, like trusting him near the goal line. Like that's something that they just wouldn't do.
I would say he had as good a workload as anybody could find.
Maybe, but he didn't get a lot of touchdowns and he didn't get a lot of touchdown opportunities, and they gave him to Nick Chubb. And I don't know if Chubb was lighting the world on fire. Maybe it's just easier to give it to a veteran who they trusted to hold on to the ball more. in that situation.
All right, who else? Because he wasn't a day 2 pick. He was a day 3 pick.
Right, and here's another day 3 pick who could see his role get usurped is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. And he was fun down the stretch, and he had some great moments. Heath has talked about the track record of day 3 running backs and how they don't seem to really stand the test of time in the National Football League, and I'm worried that he could be another one that for now we're drafting with, I guess, I don't know where he's been going in our mocks off the top of my head. I would imagine it's moderate draft capital for our fantasy leagues, but the Commanders could do a couple of things that could really make him useless for fantasy.
Jamie took Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt with the first pick of round 8. That was before Woody.
Yeah, that's worth it for now. I don't think he's going to go for much higher than that when we get to August.
Okay, I was kind of hoping. I was asking about the high-end running backs and if we thought they'd be busts.
It's such an obvious signal that you're under the weather that you kept asking for day 1 and day 2 running backs, and Dave kept giving you day 3 running backs, and you didn't explode in anger.
No music to play me off.
I mean, Jet could obviously be a bust just based on expectations.
Yeah. You can make the case for all of them.
Is it right? Right. It was a very underachieving year. I mean, my goodness, especially when you look at per carry stuff. But they went to some bad situations. Genty and Judkins went to some bad situations, not in terms of opportunity, but the offensive lines were just awful. Is anybody worried about Genty? I think about Genty as mate. I think he's really good, but it's taken us some time to think that maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. is just not as good as what we thought. And Harrison Jr. didn't work out at the combine, and neither did Genty.
I just think we also, though, have to put this in context. Like, we're talking about how disappointing these guys were and how disappointing the class was. And 3 of them were top 16 in fantasy points per game, and 6 of them were top 26 in fantasy points per game. Like a fourth of the top 26 running backs were rookies.
But Genty was a bust.
Well,
right. We were because we in late round 1.
We were idiots. I was an idiot and drafted him in round 1. Sure.
Well, he was a bust in context to what Bijan Robinson was a bust too. Like, same situation. Like we got so excited by situation and collegiate profile and all these things. The one thing that makes me a little concerned about Genty is like he's obviously on a bad franchise. Can they turn things around? They've gone through, a couple of regime changes. Obviously, they're going through another one right now. He had a lot of work in college, and the mileage is going to maybe limit what the long-term potential could be. So we may get a good 2 or 3 year run out of Ashton Genty. Maybe that was part of the problem. He was coming off a season with over 370 carries and 400 total touches, if I'm not mistaken, for what he did his final season in college. It was a lot. And so can he get to the level of consistent superstardom, or is he just going to be a 14, 15 PPR point per game type of guy because of all the work he'll get until they decide to replace him? I just wonder if we see, look, they went into 2025 with Raheem Mostert at 32 years old as the backup. Do they go out and they add somebody else to, hey, we want to share, we want to give this guy this role, we want to, make sure Genty's playing at his best and not necessarily getting overworked because we want him to be this generational player for several years. And when we do get Mendoza up to speed and we do get this franchise ready to go before his rookie contract runs out, that he's still this elite level player. I just think, again, expectations versus production, like he could be a really good fantasy option. He'd be a really good NFL running back. Can he be generational? Like Bijan right now looks like he could be generational. Like he's coming off such a huge season in 2025 and the arrow is clearly pointed up. I hope the same thing happens for Genty, but I'm a little concerned.
All right, I got to get a break in here. I'll let Heath have the last word on Genty if he wants it. And then we'll talk about some sleepers in this sophomore running back class and anyone else we may have missed. And we'll be right back on Fantasy Football Today.
This is why we do this every March.
Major slam!
It is a basketball party.
It's March! Expect the unexpected!
Heath, was there anything you wanted to say about Genty?
No, I just thought that, like, watching him play, that we saw enough to say that he is very, very good. The situation was very, very bad. We'll hope the situation gets a little better.
All right, give me a sleeper or sleepers in 2026 from this running back class.
Dylan Sampson.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for Jamie. Dylan Sampson for Heath. Why
I don't know. Is Tootin considered a sleeper?
As of now.
Okay.
What do you think the odds that they just turn the backfield over to Tootin are?
I don't think they're particularly high. I think it's possible.
Like you could see if they go cheap at that position, like a Tootin, and I'm not saying this guy, but this type of play, like an Isaiah Pacheco, somebody that's just going to a new team, veteran guy like that. Like that'd be great for Tootin.
How are we feeling about Kyle Monangai, Devin Neal?
Devin Neal's a good one.
Yeah, I think Neal's more of a
that'd be
sleeper. Monangai is probably going to be already, like, even if Swift stays, he's going to be drafted in the first probably 7 rounds.
Yeah. Okay. Heath, you said Sampson. Is that because of Judkins' injury?
Right. Yeah. And he's already shown that he can be a pass catching back in the NFL. Could just be one injury away from a lot of work.
You mentioned that they're not trading him, but Ollie Gordon, if the Dolphins trade Devon Achane.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, except when Achane was out, it was Jalen Wright.
Well, I'm not saying he's going to be the featured guy, but I think if you're looking at it, they'll probably share Gordon and Jalen Wright.
New coaching staff, they can change it up any way they want if they do that, but I'd be surprised if they did that.
Jamie, you talked about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. It's interesting. Jacob really had me believing in him, and it looked like that it was going to come true because he looked so good at times, making guys miss, and then he got these opportunities and he just stunk, just really struggled.
He had 2 big games. I think first off, the whole offense was a disaster. I mean, when Jaden Daniels was playing, he wasn't playing healthy, and then he missed 6+ games, whatever it was. Like there's got to be some more consistency from just personnel, and offensive line's a big part of this. But if you're just looking at what his chances could be, especially if you're seeing some of the rumors if they come true, Rashad White going there as the pass catching type of guy. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be the 1A in terms of carries, which he could be, but that's certainly the case. I think that's a good pairing, for a guy that could be a physical running back in Krosky-Merritt, and a guy that can be sort of a change of pace guy, pass catcher that he's been in Rashad White. I just think you get a healthy Jaden Daniels, just get a better offense in general. And so touchdown opportunities will be there for him. He's certainly explosive. He's one of these guys that fell in the draft, not necessarily because of talent, but because of situation. So again, it's not somebody you should be investing a lot of draft capital in. I believe I took him in that draft. I think I went running back. If it's the one you're referencing, our post Super Bowl one, I started with Hampton and James Cook at 12 and 13. This was the 3rd running back that I drafted, maybe the 4th, but not somebody that I would be looking to have to play if I don't need him, but certainly can crack a fantasy lineup if things are going well for him. So I don't know if we're going to get a lot of receptions from Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. That just doesn't seem like the way that they'll use him. Certainly with whatever guys he's sharing the backfield with. If it's Rashad White, then definitely no. But can be a touchdown guy, can be a 1,000-yard caliber rusher if he stays healthy and gets that type of workload. So can end up being in that borderline RB2 flex range as the season goes on.
I'm going to throw out some more names here, and you could just give me a quick reaction to them. Caleb Johnson, he was a 3rd round pick. He was the only running back taken in the 3rd round last year. He did basically nothing for the Steelers. Dave, Caleb Johnson.
You might be inclined to light one of your last picks on fire with him, just in case he ends up having a nominal role with the new Steelers coaching staff.
I think you can be more hopeful if their quarterback is not named Aaron Rodgers.
I don't know. I don't think it matters what their quarterback's name is. If he just can't pick up an offense, which seemed to be part of the problem in Pittsburgh, then he's just not going to play.
Okay, how about Trevor Etienne for Carolina, 4th round pick?
It's an interesting one with the situation being what it is right now. So if they don't bring back Rico Dowdle and Jonathan Brooks can't get on the field, then maybe he's the 1B, or he's the backup to Chuba Hubbard, and opportunity would certainly be there for him. He's a talented kid for sure. So that'd be a good late round pick if we're talking about taking a handcuff in the Panthers' backfield.
Let's stay in the 4th round. Heath, Jarquez Hunter for the Rams.
I don't have very much reason at all to be optimistic, but maybe if 2 guys get hurt, he gets a chance.
Let's go to the 5th round. We've got Heath. I'll throw it back to you. Jordan James for the Niners. Jaden Blue for the Cowboys. DJ Giddens for the Colts.
We did have a report last week or the week before that the 49ers still have big plans for Jordan James. So if he can go into the season as the number 2 running back behind Christian McCaffrey at his age and injury history with all those touches, then I think we'll definitely be drafting Jordan James. Who are the other guys?
I think just in the case of James, even if he's third,
yeah,
so if they go McCaffrey, Garendo, James, and it's James and Garendo were competing in this camp and offseason for that second spot, there's still reason for optimism.
Yeah, it's Jaden Blue for the Cowboys and DJ Giddens for the Colts.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jaden Blue was a little bit better in his second year. He started to get some opportunities down the stretch. Javonte's still going to be the main guy. They're paying him like it. He's earned it. There's no question about it. Is Jaden Blue the change of pace running back while Javonte's healthy? And then if something happens to Javonte, does Blue pick up a lot more work? Maybe.
These are two guys that if an injury occurs to the starter, will be running to pick them up because of what the potential opportunity would be.
I like that running thing. That was good. We've got round 7 was actually pretty good, but round 6 was Ollie Gordon to the Dolphins, Devin Neal to the Saints, Khalil Mullings to the Titans, and Taj Brooks to the Bengals. Ollie Gordon, Devin Neal, Khalil Mullings, Taj Brooks. Dave, is there anything left to say about those guys?
No, we talked about Gordon. Neal could have an opportunity to have a role in the Saints run game. I don't think there's much there for the other two.
Neal is somebody I will draft almost in every league I do if it stays as it is for the Saints. So Kendre Miller's coming off an ACL tear. Alvin Kamara is going to be 31 or 32. Hasn't stayed healthy each of the last 2 seasons. And clearly this coaching staff was part of the group that drafted Devin Neal, and they liked what I think they like what they saw from him down the stretch. So I don't think he'll ever be a superstar, but certainly can get opportunities and touches and can be a potential flex option.
And then we have Damian Martinez, who the Seahawks took in round 7, but he actually is now with Green Bay. And Kyle Monangai and Corey Krosky-Merritt were 7th round picks. So that's pretty wild for them to have the roles they had. Brashard Smith for the Chiefs, LaQuint Allen for the Jaguars, Phil Maffa for the Cowboys. Heath, any names I said there that are interesting? Damian Martinez, Brashard Smith, obviously Monangai and Bill. But LaQuint Allen and Phil Maffa too.
Yeah, I think Brashard Smith and LaQuint Allen both have a chance to be a third down back who maybe matters in PPR. If the Chiefs just bring in an early downs back only and the Jags let Travis Etienne go. But it's like a hope of maybe a flex who matters. So not somebody I'm currently drafting.
I think if you look at Allen's playing time versus lack of touches, it's pretty glaring because he was their third down back for a portion of the season. Just they never used him at all. It was basically like an extended offensive lineman.
Right. They liked him in pass protection.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there are any undrafted free agents. I think Raheem Sanders of the Browns was an undrafted free agent.
He was
probably the only one that mattered at any point last year, and he didn't matter much, but he got in there, I think, after the Judkins injury a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Jawar Jordan was a second-year undrafted player, if I recall, so he wouldn't qualify for this podcast.
And Ali for the Ravens.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Anything else, guys? I'm about to pass out.
Good job. Way to fight through. You're a warrior.
You have a fever?
No fever.
So you're not really that sick.
No, I'm not. Wow. Yesterday was rough. Not that bad though.
What was the worst day? Yesterday?
What's that? No, Monday. Monday wasn't great, but Tuesday was much worse. Anyway, back on the mend and looking forward to talking about sophomore wide receivers next year. Next show tomorrow. Luther Burden. Oh man, I think third best yards per route run of a rookie wide receiver in the last 13 years, something like that, with a minimum of 50 targets. So we'll discuss him and Tedero McMillan and more. Thank you, Jamie, Dave, and Heath. I'm Adam. We'll talk to you tomorrow on Fantasy Football Today.